Bible Discourse 32. The Sabbath was made for man and not man for Sabbath. And the disciples of John and of the Pharisees used to fast. And they come and say unto him, Why do the disciples of John and of the Pharisees fast, but thy disciples fast not? And Jesus unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and then shall they fast in those days. No man also seweth a piece of new cloth on an old garment, else the new piece that filled it up taketh away from the old, and the rent is made worse. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine doth burst the bottles, and the wine is spilled, and the bottles will be marred. But new wine must be put into new bottles. And it came to pass that he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began, as they went to pluck the ears of corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, Have they never read what David did when he had need and was an hungered? He and they were with him. How he went to the house of God in the days of Abiathar, the high priest, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful to eat but for the priests, and gave also to them which were with him. And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and the man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had withered hand, and they watched him whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. And he saith unto the man which had the withered hand, Stand forth. And he saith unto them, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or do evil, to save life, or to kill? But they held their peace. And when he had looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he saith unto man, Stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And the Pharisees went forth, and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. But Jesus withdrew himself with his disciples to the sea, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him, and from Judea, and from Jerusalem, and from Idumea, and from beyond Jordan, and they about Tyre and Sidon, a great multitude. And when they had heard what great things he did, came unto him. And he spake to his disciples that a small ship should wait on him because of the multitude, lest they should throng him. For he had healed many, in so much that they pressed upon him for to touch him, as many as had plagues, and unclean spirits, when they saw him, fell down before him and cried, saying, Thou art the Son of God. And he straightly charged them that they should not make him known. Mark 2:18, 3:12. And the disciples of John and the Pharisees used to fast, and they come and say unto him, why do the disciples of John and the Pharisees fast, but thy disciples fast or not? But thy disciples fast not. And Jesus unto them, can the children of the bride chamber fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and then shall they fast in those days. Mark 2:18-20, parallel reference. Then came to him the disciples of John, saying, why do we and the Pharisees fast off, but thy disciples fast not? But thy disciples fast not. And Jesus said unto them, can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast. Matthew 9:14-15. In the company of Master or Guru, his disciples, spiritual children, need not fast. Here the Master is bridegroom, and divine consciousness is the bride chamber. The disciples are uplifted with Master's divine consciousness. So what is the need of these ritual injections like fasting, etc.? What is the necessity of children of bride chamber to follow austerity methods instead of rejoicing the presence of bridegroom? In the presence of Sadguru or Master, the people feel the expansion of spiritual consciousness. Jesus did not dismiss the importance of spiritual fasting. Proper periodic fasting is not only good for spiritual purpose, but also for digestive health. Mental and bodily discipline are not an end in themselves, but are a means to achieve God consciousness. Fasting reminds the disciple that the body is not dependent on sustenance, but on the divine spirit. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Matthew 4:4, Discourse 8. Jesus wanted his disciples to trust his teachings and God when his journey on earth was over. He wanted his disciples to do more meditation, to retain their freedom from bodily attachment, and to maintain the elevated state of God consciousness. All the masters are living even after discarding their bodies. The true disciples feel the presence of them, of their master or masters, with or without bodies. No man also seweth a piece of new cloth on an old garment, else the new piece that fill it up taketh away the old, taketh away from the old, and the rent is made worse. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine doth burst the bottles, and the wine is spilled, and the bottles will be marred. But new wine must be put into new bottles. Mark 2:21-23. Parallel reference. And he spake also a parable unto them. No man putteth a piece of new garment upon an old. If otherwise, then both the new maketh a rent, and the piece was taken out of the new agreeth not with the old. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine will burst the bottles, and be spilled, and the bottles shall perish. But new wine must be put into new bottles, and both are preserved. No man, also having drunk old wine, straightway desireth new, for he saith, the old is better. Luke 5:36-39. Patches of the new cloth cannot be matched to worn fabric. The strong new pieces would pull at the old material. It makes even less useful than before. Jesus was living in truth. Spiritual consciousness is incompatible with dogmatism. Jesus said, "It would be foolish for my disciples to bottle up their divine wisdom of new revelations of truth in an old atmosphere of mechanical rules of popular superstitions and dogmatic codes of conduct. A new wine should be kept in new bottles." So, my disciples have been given a new consciousness, a new atmosphere of spiritual living within which to present their new realizations, their God intoxication. They are already experiencing that for which rules were made. Jesus said, "God has made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life." Corinthians 3:6. And it came to pass that he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day. And his disciples began, as they went, to pluck the ears of corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, "Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful?" And he said unto them, "Have they never read what David did when he had need and was hungered, he and they that were with him, how he went into the house of God in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful to eat, but for the priests, and gave also to them which were with him." Mark 2:23 to 26. Parallel reference. At that time, Jesus went on Sabbath day date through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and he began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, "Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day." But he said unto them, "Have read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of God, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Oh, have ye not been, oh, have ye not read the law, read in the law, how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. Matthew 12:1 to 7. Through Moses came the scriptural command, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath day of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thou manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within the gate. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." Exodus 28 to 11. The Sabbath day is a time and repose. It is balance man's outwardly active nature by contact with the transcendental stillness at the core his being. 6 days are the hard material activity. The seventh day is the rest. Seventh day is the day of rest. This is a limitation of God's supposedly 6 days of creative activity, followed by a seventh day of rest. The 7 days were not solar days, but consisted of ionic cycles. Thus, the heaven and earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Genesis 2 1 2. The creation of the earth, as also its galactic neighborhood, took untold measures of time to make it habitable for man. God desired to create, and hence he made ideational creation. If the will and intelligence could take a rest, the universe continued under its own momentum of cosmic law and its divine agencies of reflective intelligence and creative vibration. All creation has inherited the pattern of rest period after intense creative activity. It is evident in birth and death of stars, the solar and lunar cycles, the seasons, plant life, and in animals and man. We and universe share a related vibration. Rest is needed after activity. Therefore, Sabbath was made. It is not only for physical relaxation but also transcendent spiritual rest for the rejuvenation of the indwelling spirit. Jesus upheld the spiritual commandments, but he taught that it is the spirits of law that are to be followed. Literal meaning should not be taken lest it will be lead to perversion. Religious rules are to be followed with wisdom, not literalistic blindness. The priest was so fanatic about observing Sabbath, they will not take even their dying brother, servant, or guest to a doctor on a Sabbath day. Jesus reminded the critics about the story of David. The showbread was a ritual offering of 12 newly baked loaves placed each Sabbath on a table in the temple sanctuary and sprinkled with incense. They were left there until the following Sabbath, when the incense was burned and they were eaten by priests and replaced by 12 new loaves. It was forbidden to remove them from the sanctuary. The incident is recorded in 1 Samuel 21 1 to 6. David asked the priest about the sacred showbread and ate it through it was contrary to the law. A spiritual David could put aside the rules and eat the showbread. Then what about Jesus who was one with God? That is why Jesus said, the Pharisees, if you knew that the spirit within me has made my body temple holier by far than the atmosphere of the ancient temple, and that the wisdom of spirit guides all my actions of those who are with me. You would not condemn my disciples who stand faultless in the eyes of God and in the judgment of his eternal laws. Understand that God seeks not your rituals and sacrificial judgment of human behavior, but rather your compassionate wisdom and divine understanding. Then would I return your mercy, and wisdom would not be sacrificed on the altar of your ignorance. For I desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. Jesus again quoted from Hosea 6:6. And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and the man for the Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. Mark 2:27 to 28. Sabbath injunctions are to be applied as per the man. The determinative Lord Jesus said Jesus. The Sabbath should serve the busy worldly people so that they will be free from worldly affairs on that day, so that they may be replenished from within by soul calmness and bliss. Sun's day, that is, Sunday is wisdom's day. That day should be spent in God awakening activities. That is the purpose of Sabbath. Saturday was the customary Sabbath day during Jesus' time and remains so in Jewish religion. But Sabbath day can be any day suited to the community and climate. One should not be inwardly engrossed in his business activities, etc. A spiritual man who meditates every day may take one day as Sabbath. In that case, the Sabbath is serving him, not he the Sabbath. Jesus points out that ordinary people can modify the rules of Sabbath without transgression. Jesus upheld the Sabbath, a necessary observance for a peaceful and balanced life. Sermons, discourses, periods of silence and meditation to recharge body, mind and soul and Sabbath is desirable. The worldly person gives so much time for material things. He should give at least one day to God on Sabbath, who is the giver of all things. Real observance of the Sabbath is feeling of God's presence through inner communion. The science of yoga defines the true meaning of the actionless state that lifts the soul to God communion. न कर्मणानारंभ नैष्कर्म्य पुरुषोस्मृति न च संन्यस सरादेव सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति. Gita 3:4. Without doing karma, actions, man will not attain the actionless state of the soul, wisdom. Merely relinquishing karma, no one can attain liberated state. 35-40 years of continuous government service shall make you eligible to get pension. The only one will be able to eat without doing any service. So one should do karma and then sacrifice. Without karma, sacrifice is useless. Even worldly knowledge, that is common sense, also cannot be attained without doing karma. Then how pure wisdom can be got without meditation? Meditation is called dhyana karma. Nahi kachis kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karmakrut karyate hevasat karma sarva prakrutijai gunaihi. Gita, 3rd Adhyaya, 5th Sloka. No one on this earth can keep quiet without doing karma, even for a while. Everyone does karma compulsorily by nature. The whole universe is made of working with 3 qualities, sattva, raja and tama. Soul is beyond creation. If a golden ring falls in a mud block, it will be besmeared with mud. Likewise, when soul is encompassed in mind, life force and body, it will be smeared with ego. It will be smeared with ego. It appears as though it is also yielded to physical, mental and spiritual states. If the mud is cleansed, then the golden ring shines with its original sheen. Remember, the mud is not penetrating into the atoms of golden ring here. Similarly, the mala vikshepana avarana through faults or doshas cannot penetrate into soul. Once they are removed, the soul will illuminate with its original effulgence. Even the completely realized yogi also trains the people with Kriya Yoga who are longing for it. He does it for the sake of doing Nishkama karma. But this is karma only. No one, so no one keeps quiet without doing karma. Nobody can be idle forever for all the times. Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarjan vimudhatma vidyachara savuchyate. Third chapter, sixth sloka. He who forcibly suppresses his senses and shall be thinking always about the objects of the senses is a hypocrite. If one says that I will achieve eternal beatitude with sadhana and then relinquishes it in the middle for the sake of trivial sense pleasures, then he is a hypocrite only. To wear saffron robes and behaving like a sage is the work of a hypocrite only. For evil thought gradually leads to evil work. So mind has to be controlled gradually with the regular practice of Kriya Yoga. A suppressed spring strikes the face with renewed strength once it is released. Similarly, evil thoughts will impregnate the mind if the sadhana is given up in the middle. The one who has reached a state of Paramahansa with his sadhana may or may not do sadhana. The union with God or attaining Nirvikalpa Samadhi state is the state of Paramahansa. He is like a pensioner getting beatitude pension for God. Yasindriyani manasa niyamyarabhate Arjuna karmendriyai karma yoga masaktasya viseshyate. Masaktasya viseshyate. O Arjuna, he who controls his senses with the control of mind and does karma without expecting results of the least, results in the least, that yogi is great. So long as man's mind and life force are tied to the senses and life force, he is at work. If the senses and life force are switched off, in the nerves that connect the mind shall attain the true inactive state of transcendental spirit. In Savikalpa Samadhi state, the yogi suspends all bodily activities. This is known as inactivity. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, yogi retains his oneness with spirit without necessarily suspending outer activity. He is said to be inactively active. He is a yogi who beholds inactivity in action and action in inaction. Karmaya pasyeda karmani cha karmaya. Sa buddhiman manusyeshu na buddhiman manusyeshu sanyukta krishna karma krut. Sanyukta krishna karma krut. Gita 4:18. He who sees karma, action in akarma, inaction, and vice versa is the most intelligent, meditating yogi and the follower of good actions amongst people. Life itself is a drama. Playing this drama with indifference only for the sake of Parabrahman is termed as seeing action in inaction. Preaching Kriya Yoga with renewed interest to the aspiring devotees for the sake of Paramatma is termed as seeing inaction in action. Brahmanyadhyaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padma patra vivambhata. Gita 5 Adhyaya 10th sloka. The lotus leaf will be untouched by water in spite of dwelling in the water. Likewise, he who dedicates all his actions to Parabrahman and remains in dispassion, then he will not be touched by any sin. The Kriya Yoga sadhak or meditating yogi withdraws his life force, ego, and consciousness into his spinal cord. He will direct them as a single stream of electricity into Chitri, Sukshmanadi, surrounded by Vajra and Susumna. That stream of electricity shall be sent to Parabrahman in ascending order through Brahmanadi, residing within Chitri, subtle Nadi. In descending order, the Parabrahman shall be entering into this inert body through spinal cord as a soul, life force, and consciousness gradually, and then making this inert body active. And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had withered hand, and they watched him whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. But he said unto the man which had withered hand, stand forth. And he said unto them, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or do evil, to save life, or to kill? But they held their peace. Mark 3, 1 to 4, parallel reference. And when he was departed thence, he went into their synagogue. And behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him, saying, it is lawful to heal on the Sabbath days, that they might accuse him. And he said unto them, man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will not lay hold on it, and lift it out. How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Matthew 12, 9 to 12. Jesus knew that Pharisees wanted to entrap him, yet he boldly commanded the man, rise up and stand forth in the midst of the throng in full view, so that they can behold the good works of God of healing on the Sabbath day. Jesus made it a point that none so ever loses his sheep fall into a pit on the Sabbath. Similarly, man who is more precious than sheep should be helped, even if it is Sabbath. Sabbath was made to increase man's spiritual consciousness. Any activity to increase spiritual consciousness on Sabbath is lawful, he decreed. And when he had looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto man, stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. Mark 3:5. Parallel reference in Matthew 12:13 and Luke 6:10. Jesus was not angry, but it is a will force of righteousness. Once again, Jesus was not angry, but it is a will force of righteousness. He said to the man, stretch forth thine hand. The person to be healed was having faith in Jesus. Jesus said, make an effort of your will to search for your heretofore useless hand and send all healing energy there. If you do so, and are in tune with me, my divine will, controlling the cosmic energy of the universe, also present in your will and your bodily energy, will heal you. Jesus reiterated his point on another occasion of Sabbath as related to the Gospel according to Saint Luke. And he was teaching in one of his synagogues on the Sabbath. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years and was bowed together and could in no wise lift up herself. And when Jesus saw her, he called her to him and said unto her, Woman, thou art loosed from the infirmity. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight and glorified God. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation, because that Jesus based on the Sabbath day, and said unto the people, There are 6 days in which men are to work. In them therefore come and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day. The Lord then answered him and said, Thou hypocrite, doth not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or his ass from his stall, and lead him away to watering? And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan hath bound, lo, these 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath day? And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed, and all the people rejoiced for all the glorious things that were done by him. Luke 13:10 to 17. Jesus healed the withered hand of the afflicted man. Then the temple authorities were angry. They perceived it as Jesus' defiance of scriptural law. And the Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. But Jesus withdrew himself with his disciples to the sea, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him, and from Judea, and from Jerusalem, and from Idumea, and from beyond Jordan, and they about Tyre and Sidon. A great multitude, when they had heard what great things he did, came unto him. And he spake to his disciples that a small ship should wait on him because of the multitude, lest they should throng him. For he had healed many, insomuch that they pressed upon him for to touch him, as many as had plagues. And unclean spirit, when they saw him, fell down and before him and cried, saying, fell down before him and cried, saying, Thou art the Son of God. And he straightly charged them that they should not make him known. Parallel Mark 3:6 to 12. Parallel reference. The Pharisees went out. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him. But when Jesus knew it, he withdrew himself from thence, and great multitudes followed him. And he healed them all, and charged them that they should not make him known, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Behold my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he shall shew judgment in the Gentiles. He shall not strive, nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed shall he not break, and smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment into victory. And in his name shall the Gentiles trust. Matthew 12:14 to 21. Jesus did not want to rouse further excitement about his ability to perform spiritual miracles, and prudently he withdrew with his disciples to see. Plots were brewing to destroy him. Multitudes followed him. Jesus wanted his disciples to keep the blessings to themselves. His life was in danger. His mission was not yet consummated. Matthew elaborates about the appearance and dispensation of Jesus on earth. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, mine elect in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the spirit. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto earth. He shall not fall nor be discouraged. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment on the earth, and the idle shall wait for his law. Isaiah 42, 1 to 4. God speaks to the prophet Isaiah that he will send his servant, my beloved, in whom my soul is well pleased, and also promised, I will put my spirit upon him. God will bestow wisdom, and blessings to Jesus. Jesus will show to the people of the world divine judgment of salvation bestowed by wisdom and righteous living. Neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. People will not be able to hear the voice of cosmic vibration of the Spirit of God encased in the body of Jesus. A bruised reed shall he not break, even though fragile reed of a body that is bruised or crucified, the consciousness of Jesus is not affected. And smoking flax shall he not quench. The Spirit of Jesus would not be quenched or suppressed by the persecution of flesh. All he sent till he sent forth judgment into victory, and in his name shall the Gentiles trust. Jesus would not leave his incarnation even during his crucifixion. He could retain the magnanimity and the God consciousness and the God conscious qualities, untouched by the tortures of flesh and the hatred of man and the final insult of death. Isaiah prophesied that the Gentiles would in a far-reaching measure come to accept Jesus as their Guru or Savior, even when he was no longer incarnate. They would intuitively realize Spirit as the Christ in Jesus. To confirm this, he shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment, the courts of righteousness in the earth, and the idols shall wait for his law. End of discourse.